Welcome back to Season 2 of sNAPAshots. Let's meet Mohini Mehta.
I'm Mohini Mehta. I'm currently doing my PhD in the Department of Sociology at Uppsala University. I identify myself as a social anthropologist. My pronouns are she, her, and my sub-discipline or subfield of study is food anthropology.
How did you get interested in anthropology?
I was working on a government-funded project back in Delhi, which was around finding solutions for the homeless population in Delhi. And I wanted to personally focus on providing affordable menstrual hygiene solution for the women residents. And in my entire quest of actually working towards finding those solutions, I realized that there is a sheer amount of neglect and apathy, not only among the policymakers, but also among the civil society members. And there's definitely a lot of stigma attached to it. And I know a watershed movement for me was when I was giving my presentation, one of the colleagues said that this is kind of unprofessional because this is too feminist and this focuses a lot on women issues. That was a time when I learned what it means to be working on socio-cultural issues. It taught me the very important lesson of contextualization and what exactly means to work with multiple narratives and multiple realities. But I think I would say most importantly, it taught me how to be in the field.
How has the anthropological perspective or training enhanced your contribution to your workplace?
Having an anthropological perspective, and as I would like to call, the ontological attitude towards things, I feel it's very important because, you need to really understand the different entrenched realities and the standpoints if you have to work with people. So I've been a communications manager when I was working in development sector. And one of my tasks was to bring out the stories of change for the organization I used to work and the impact they have created. And my sole focus was not only to create a very flowery narrative, but I did definitely look into how exactly do we determine impact. And I think this is one of the few anthropological things we learn that, not everything is very numerical. You don't see it as an increase in income or a change in lifestyle. It also means about what it means to an agency of the person, what it means to in the entire social well-being of a person. How does it change the matrix of standpoint for different people?
What advice would you like to pass on to future anthropologists seeking roles in professional fields?
Do not only think of your academic endeavors as being extremely professional. I think you do end up having a lot more beautiful experiences. And it's not a very black and white thing. It's not that you're going to make relations which are going to taint your research, which is a big problem. We always think in binary of the fact that, okay, it is not ethical that, you're making friends with people because you're only there to research. The idea is to understand that there are human connections. And even if you are not, you need to treat fellow humans as human beings, whom you would like to talk to, who might want to offer you food while you're talking, who want to understand all of these things in terms of human interactions. That is the core essence of anthropology. It's not about you sitting with your pen and paper and noting down all the details of what they're doing. It's about how do you also interact in that space.
What is your superpower as an anthropologist?
I would say it is just a very strong curiosity to be knowing about different cultures and to not appropriate them, but appreciate them to the best way possible. So I am a huge language nerd. I love learning new languages and I try practicing them with people as much as I can. And I pick up a lot. I watch a lot of popular media around different things. So I would know the randomest of facts, really random facts from different cultures and stuff. I make efforts to learn about people's food habits, cultural habits, religious habits, and then I like to bring them in the conversations. So I just realized that when you have to talk to people, you need to have certain common points to talk to them about, and you have to make them comfortable.
What is the anthropological background of your early life?
For me, definitely it was growing up with the oral narratives of partition. So I think it was a great experience because my grandma would always sit me down and would tell me different stories. And of course, there were a lot of painful memories of what happened when they were coming from Pakistan to India and the kind of bloodshed and annihilation they saw, which was very painful. But apart from that, there were also very vivid mentions of their everyday life. So, and I think that is something we often forget, that, when people talk about a very watershed experience or a traumatic experience, it's not only the trauma they talk about, they also talk about what seemingly is the normalcy which preceded that disruption, which is, I think, which is also a very basis of, understanding narratives. So, I mean, that was a time when I actually got to live and relive in that time. I got to relive in that moment when I was not even present. And I got to know about, how the houses look like, what kind of relation my grandma had with her friends, and the kind of jealousy they had against my grandma, or how my grandma would do a lot of things in spite, and how my grandfather tasted chocolate for the first time when he was studying in Multan. And a lot of these beautiful things. So my grandfather had great cartographic skills, and he once drew an entire map of the region which he belonged to. So he comes from the JLM region in Pakistan, and he drew this map which showed, which basically started with my grandmother's village and it ended in the city where my grandfather used to live. So for me, living through those cartographies and those geographies I had not visited, I did not even know if I would ever get a chance to visit, was reliving a lot of life they spoke about and the life they have left behind. And that is what I realized these stories of partition did to me. They basically recreated that entire life, which I was not privy to, and I did not know. And I think that was a moment which gave me this entire interest into stories and interest in delving deeper into histories.
Thank you, Mohini, for sharing your experience as a practicing food anthropologist. For more on sNAPAshots, find us at practicinganthropology.org, Meta, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Save the date. Join NAPA at the Careers Expo November 10th, 2023 in Toronto, Canada. See you there.
Funnily, I have been raised by a strong feminist mother who comes from those second wave ideas of feminism, and according to her, being in the kitchen was definitely not something which women must be doing. So she always discouraged me to be in the kitchen, and ironically I loved being in the kitchen. I think she still has issues accepting the fact that I work so much. I think she only agrees to me working in the kitchen because she knows I made a profession out of it.